It was about time for Slim Shady to go. Like, it was time. We probably had a few years too long of the Slim Shady character, but with Eminem being over 50 years old, kind of felt like it was time for him to grow up, and I feel like this album was that for him. So we're going to do a little album review of The Death of Slim Shady. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like the video. If you're coming back and you have subscribed, I appreciate it. Go ahead and send this to somebody, share it with a friend, all that good stuff. So let's just get into the album really quick. If I had to give like a quick, like, one sentence review of this album, it would be, if you like Eminem, this album will not change your mind. If you don't like Eminem, this album won't change your mind. Like, the things that people don't like about Eminem are pretty apparent on this album, but the things that people do like about Eminem are apparent on this album. Like the funny bars, the offensive bars, the super fast rappy rap bars, and all that stuff is on here. Like, this album is not changing any minds. That would be the sentence. This album is not changing anybody's mind. However you feel about Eminem, however you feel about Marshall Mathers, Slim Shady, all that good stuff, this album is not going to change your mind. As a fan of Eminem, this album is one of the better ones for the latter half of his career. Obviously, the beginning of his career, he had a lot of great work. In the middle, it was kind of hit or miss. Towards the end, he started to get back on the upward trajectory. So I've been listening to this album a lot, and I've really enjoyed it, I'm not gonna lie. Obviously, listening to it in order, you have to do that. Listening to it in order makes it sound a lot smoother. The songs flow together, and it's easier to listen, I'll say that. And it doesn't feel like a super long album. It just flows almost perfectly. The one thing I always give Eminem credit for is it feels like he's trying hard. And I know a lot of people don't like that about the way he raps, whether it be the super fast raps trying to fit as many words into a bar as possible, all of the different kind of rhyme schemes and flows that he tries. That, for some reason, that's a turnoff for a lot of rap fans, but I appreciate an artist who's willing to push himself, who's willing to take an artistic risk as far as the way that he flows and the way that he raps. So, like I said, I'm gonna keep coming back to this. This album is not gonna change your mind about Eminem. It's really not. So the storytelling between Marshall Mathers and Slim Shady was very entertaining. Like, the back and forth between his regular self and his alter ego was funny, it was compelling, it was a new look on, well, I mean, I'm sure rappers have done this before, but I'm not sure if I've seen it done to this level before. Let me know in the comments if you can remember an album where, you know, a rapper kind of went back and forth with themselves. Obviously, T.I. versus T.I.P. comes to mind off top, but yeah, let me know in the comments if you have any other recommendations on that. So the production, if there was anything negative to really say about this album, it's probably the production. So like the beats on Brand New Dance, Evil, Antichrist, Houdini, they all sound like stuff from his earlier albums, like from, you know, 1999, 2000, like all his first two albums. It's the same kind of, you know, sound, the country, you know, hillbilly type twang to it. That's really the only way I can describe that. But yeah, he's been kind of using that sound his whole career. He did take a lot of shots at people. I mean, like I said, if this album is not going to change your mind about Eminem, like, he's been doing that since the beginning of his career. So if you're, you know, I guess overly sensitive, like, why are you listening to an Eminem album? Because this is what he does. Like, you know, taking shots at Caitlyn Jenner, Megan Thee Stallion, Christopher Reeves, you know, Little People. If you go back and listen to his earlier stuff, that's what he does. That's what Slim Shady does. He's offensive, he's funny, but, you know, that's what you're gonna get from him. That's just what you're gonna get. So as far as the features go, well, let me stick on the production a little bit more. for someone that's been around Dr. Dre their entire career, I kind of wish he had better production. You know, like he's kind of in his J. Cole bag where he feels like his production is the only production he can rap on, and I'm not big on that. Eminem's not a good enough producer to produce as many tracks as he did on this album, especially knowing that he has Dr. Dre's number, and he could probably get, you know, in contact with like Alchemist or Kanye West or Conductor Williams, like anybody. Like, just get someone else to produce some of these tracks. The features were great. Jid went crazy. The only thing that was kind of missing for me feature-wise, I would have liked to have heard from Royce da 5'9". They did a lot of records together. They're both from Detroit. Bad vs. Evil is one of my favorite little rap duos, so it would have been cool to hear them kind of, you know, reunite for one more song. Obviously getting Big Sean and Babytron on there was cool. It was a good look for Detroit because they're both from Detroit. All three of them are from Detroit, so that was a good look for them. If there was one song that I would recommend people to listen to from this album, it would be Guilty Conscience 2. It's basically Eminem and Marshall Mathers going back and forth together, rapping about, you know, needing each other, who's really gets the credit for, you know, Marshall Mathers' success, who's the most important out of the two. Kind of like, it almost felt therapeutic to listen to that song, almost. Like, he's really trying to figure out what it is that he wants to do and who he's going to be going forward. So this album we will look back on this album differently depending on what Eminem does going forward. So if Eminem no longer raps like Slim Shady, actively tries to be offensive, you know, takes, you know, pot shots at celebrities and stuff like that, if he stops doing that for the rest of his career, I think we will look back more fondly on this album as his growing up album. Like, there's a couple songs towards the end where he's rapping about his kids where it was like very, very personal and very emotional and very vulnerable, and it's just like, wow, I didn't know that he really had it in him like that to really let us inside and let us know how he feels and about, you know, fatherhood and growing old and things like that. So he really has to let go of the Slim Shady thing if this album is to age gracefully. Now, if the next album he puts out, he's still doing the Slim Shady moniker, and he's still, you know, being the same, I guess, immature style of rapping that he does, I think we'll look back on this album and be like, man, this wasn't, you know, what we thought it was going to be. This wasn't the direction he was going in. I know me personally, I view the Black Album a little bit differently because Jay-Z didn't actually retire. If Jay-Z would have actually retired after the Black Album, that album would be elevated higher in my mind. So I'm not sure what direction Eminem is going to go into the rest of his career, but if I'm being honest, if he goes in the direction of growing up and being a little bit more mature, not saying he can't have funny bars and the cringe stuff and all and whatever, but if he just grows up a tad bit, this album could legit be his 444. That's how mature this album has. This album is in spots. Like, it could be that for him. It could be the album that we look at and be like, yeah, this is where Marshall Mathers grew up. So I would recommend this album, but I'm also an Eminem fan, and like I said, this album is not going to change your mind. I feel like I've said that 5 times. This album will not change your mind on how you feel about Eminem as an artist, as a rapper, as a producer, any of that stuff. So let me know in the comments what you think about the album. If you listened to the album, what were your thoughts on it? What were your favorite songs? What were your least favorite songs? And while you're still here, go ahead and click the up next video because I did a review of Ice Spice's new album. So go ahead and check that out. Thanks for watching. Peace.